Mbiri safuta ndipo mbiri imazibwereza yokha. Tikulandireni kwina kulikonse kumene muli pa Mbiri. Pamene tikupitiriza kukuwuzani mbiri yokhuzana ndi television m'Malawi muno yoyambirira, awa ndi anthu amene adayambirira kuulutsa mawu pa wailesi yakanema ya MBC ndipo akulongosola monse mmene iwowa adusa kuyambira pachiyambi mpaka na kufikira nthawi imene iwowa adachoka kumeneko. Nde apa tikupasirani ena mwa anthu amene adagwirako ntchito kumeneko.
Those days one thing I learned a lot was we were a family. I think we looked after each other and we worked well together. Secondly, we were professionals. I think we did our work working hand in hand together, knowing what the fellow friend is doing, and when we went out for assignments, we always had fun and we did our job well. Wow, I've got lots of moments. I think my best moments were giving assignments. When we were given assignments, we had challenging assignments. In those days, we really didn't have equipment, as maybe now you have most of the equipment. We used to have, when we were really starting, we had like shoestring budgets. So I think we learned a lot on how to manage the resources that you have, how to come up with professional or good productions with what we had. I had lots of my friends, the reporters that we were going out with or producers we were going out with. We really worked together in harmony. I think that was one good thing that I love. On my highlights, I think one of my highlights, I was a cameraman, as I said. One of my highlights was an accident I got in, as we call it, at Linthipe. I was with Kusari, I remember, because we had two stories, actually three stories. We went to cover the vice president, then Malawi's, and we're on our way coming back, we stopped. There was a small accident that happened, so we said, let's try to do a cover just to show that the road is bad. And as I was shooting, there was a car coming from, I think, from up Linthipe 1 going down. In my mind, I was saying, wow, I was establishing the place. And I was saying, wow, that car is going to pass by here, so I'm going to get it into my shot. And the way he was speeding, I said, that car might not control itself. But I just kept on stuck to it. And I don't know how, but I just came, then I saw it overturn, and I took the whole action there. I think that was my highlights of being at.
Yeah, so I think we were what we were told 5 minutes. So we started taking out from scratch, literally when there was nothing. And I think that was in the house. And it was quite a roller coaster because we weren't very sure whether it was going to happen or not. Because we were there for like 2 years. And every day we would come to work in the morning, knock off at 5, expecting to go out. In fact, we became a laughing stock, more especially because we weren't just sitting in. We would go attend news conferences, cover news and stuff, and we always had to introduce ourselves. So we'd say we're TV Malawi, and people would actually ask us, which TV Malawi? Even if there was one song by Lucius Band, I think that came that particular time, he talks about that, you know. So when finally it launched on the 1st of April 1999, I think it was a very exciting time. And because of the time that we had spent together, we had become a family. So we were very closely knit. And we also had an opportunity of having access to training. So it wasn't just a matter of somebody comes in here today and tomorrow he's on TV. I, for example, took almost 2 years before Dr. Tembo would allow me to start presenting news. And as a result, it was I think that time, I'm not comparing it to anything, but that time for you to appear on TV, you had to pass through certain tests. We would start in continuity first, learn the trade there, and then graduate to reading news. So it was quite exciting. And then there was only one TV, so you knew we were the only ones who were being watched. So I still remember, up until now, I still meet some guys who still remember me and say, you're Joel Ntaba. And I've been out of TV for the past 20 years, but still people can still remember. So it was quite an exciting time. I think the most exciting thing for me was what I just mentioned, to say when we were finally told you can go to Kwacha and see the equipment when the equipment arrived. Because I think it arrived with the technicians from Namibian Broadcasting Corporation. So we came here, we saw the equipment, and we knew this thing is very real. But at the same time, another exciting thing for me was presenting news first. I had been a continuity presenter for some time, and when Dr. Tembo said, okay, finally you can do your first news bulletin presentation, I think it was quite an exciting time. But we also traveled quite a lot. You remember, then we didn't have studios in Lilongwe, we didn't have studios in Mzuzu, so we had to sometimes travel and camp in Lilongwe. For example, when Parliament was in session, so we'd take turns, 2 weeks, a week or 2 weeks, camp there, and then we would transverse the whole nation, visiting each and every place, corner of Malawi. So it was quite very exciting.
Thank you very much. Ine zinanga dine hari Juma, ndinapanga retire, I think 2021 September. Munonga retire ndagwira zaka 23. Ndinapanga retire ndiri control of engineering. Kumana kapo so regional manager ku Central Region, ndubwera nsungu zaka control of engineering. Television officially in number 1999 April. Tirabwa kuno waja ntame timanga ndilo ndi timu ina iko ku Namibia. Imema tiphunzitsa kuti television amatere. Ndiye ndikukumbukira kuti pa 30 or 31 March tulika kuti tite launch pa 1st April. Atiphunzitsa tamaliza tudikira kuti mawa atiyambe fakuti abwera mulendo amene amatsatsegulira President Daniel Arap Moi ndiye anabwera ndi bwana Ngozi kuti azaite launch television. Tiyakonzeka tiyede lonse tapanga meeting tiwiyo ndi mamawa tumane mamawa takakha chakumasana uku ndiye akutuza kuti akuna Namibia akupita anatisira ifeyo kuti tipange koma nkhani nayo tisinapita pangapo nditi nkati zikhala bwanji so atipanga training bwino atuza kuno kuti official launch yamawa tikhali modzi tikatsegulira chinthuchi timu yakuna Namibia izipita abana kuna avuta tsiku limenelo nkuti kuti tipanga bwanji chifukwa zinthu zinambakita chirapo timajambula apo indi tinali ku information mataku jambula yanjani kuma television ali yasena ikoyamba tera bero training ndi mapero nkuonera nkubwera ndiye timati zikhala bwanji pamenepa tinenso kambira nawo unabwera kwako kapena ku Namibia kuti bwanji akachita launch ini muthu omapita ana kuti ayi matikiti athu ndi awa ife maba 7 o'clock tilo kwa ebo tumapita ndiye natipanga bwanji nakamaso kambira na kuti previous meeting ina but we have to do it. Ndiye nakambira kama ndira kuti okay mama wali sabwere zakumakeso chifukwa kuti president Daniel Arap Moi kuno amuzi na oligera abwere basi tinapita kugona mama tinalawira tufika kuno tukapeza kuti Namibia yali alipo mpano ndiye kuti zakabanja kuti yayi it was Fool's Day tilipo ndiye tutipanga limodzi ndiye ndime tinambira kwa zidali zovuta kwambiri nimedambira ndiye tunditu ndamu zinali zovuta kwambiri chifukwa tinapa ndi analog ndiye kuti timateka chamba storage akabwera ma storage akachita edit kuti ma storage tapanga timaika matepi awiri story 1 tape ina story 2 tape ina buje ni presenter amemuti anka ulinga news timajambula malinki acha ndiye kadi nthawi timakalumikisa ikafika nthawi ya news timawaita play tape ndipo nthawi tinali toka ndiye ulinzi bwete ndi pa state kakuta pa state fata chedwa zimaoneka kuti zili bwino koma zinali zovuta nthawi imeneyo ndiye zimakhala zovuta nokuna kuti mwina story iyi yajambula ku Central Region ndiye ufunika kwambiri ndiye zimene zimachika zinoti ku Central Region chikwa galimoto ndi tape ndiye kuti kunozo galimoto nyamuka ndiye kuma chanchemucha kutenga tape yobwana kuti zambi zimangisa do news zimachedwa zinali zovuta kwambiri kuti tinakhala kuja news ndahitali ndeso natakhala pansi director general atwali a Benson Temple tinati tiyese bwana mawa kuti tiyese mkhaya live. So he was the first presenter kapa TV kweneka news abana zinalizovuta kwambiri chifukwa hivi panopo mwenzetu ndiza digital zimatha panga muti komaki kumbuyo kutuka chonse kumafeta ngotenga chuche nchimuta cha food ya chibibo ndikuye kumbuyo news ndikumana lenga news yoyamba kuti play usateka news yacho item yachiwiri kuti play usateka mpaka na news toka kumaseka kuti matani mind bwino kuti no tayamba tipitire ndiye nimezinaliza izovuta kwa business zovuta makena aka trader migrate to digital chilemba kuinamba no kupweka zoti news ino ntime nezo umuntu nawo panaibe competition news matobwa koma nopo ansema mesunga banki for once you put news at 8 anza na mbili kuloko mbezo ti maviewers ambita apita kwene kwenako ndimezi makali anetu
toza kwambiri
ndetu ipanopo ma TV mina Mungu ufuna kuonjezera TV tikuona panopo kuli competition kwa ma TV na usiana tufunia kwambiri panopo ndi schedule ya ma programs. Yeah, if I don't schedule them properly, mbezo ti ma viewers ambiri amapita kuma station na kumonera kumufuna muona kuti anza twina akutani kuma station kunako kuti ma program atu tengeke bati kuti program ati yende tengeka mtawi atakakonera panopo uzofunga nzimenezo china mfando njenje na kuti mwambanza ngapanaja kuti team yathu almost everybody anapita ku training tidaphunzira zosiyana ndine kanduna kuti ku TV kuja ali ndi department ya training then mati mutati muone ametera pumafe the skills the talent the experience that is now going to the grave ndi ambiri kuti mu time kuti department kana kamona kumana kuti kuti mwina akalewa ndi atsopanowa ndibwe muzita share that knowledge kuti chitu sizani chisipitalize pasogolo mwina mawanga ndamena aziwambiri.
All right, thank you very much. Hello, my name is Twimi Kamwambe. I was recruited as a news reader, but I ended up doing several other roles. I worked as a creative producer. I worked in the technical department, basically in every aspect of news, with the setup that we had, from directing news to operating the then manual system that had us loading news reports manually and playing them once the newsreader has finished their intros, and cueing the presenters as well. So I did quite a bit. I also did a bit of editing. The experience was very rich because obviously it's not every day you get to do a lot of things in one particular role. So no day was the same. 1 minute I'd find myself at the stadium reporting on sports. Another minute I'd find myself at a train crash site in Malawi, and train has crashed and you're going there to see what it's like in rough terrain. There were other days when we would find ourselves sitting before heads of state reporting. I remember we had a SADC summit here at Comesa, and so it was very rich, it was very dynamic. What I do remember, maybe a few highlights, is that the project took a long time to take off. So we were recruited in 1996. We sat for a while and never heard anything back. Then towards the end of the year, we got our first call for training. We completed our training, that was in Namibia, with the Namibian Broadcasting Corporation, early 1997. And then we came back to Malawi. And then from that time until 1999, we sat down waiting for the project to take off. It wasn't a quiet time because various people came in to train us. We had Thompson Foundation come in. There was Mr. Ian Masters, I think he had previously worked with the BBC. And there was also a gentleman, Mr. Drash Schmidt from Deutsche Welle, that came in. And there were so many other trainings that were organized. So we were learning a lot as we go along. And the learning was broad and general because obviously we were all sitting in one room and mostly all of us had to participate. So you were not only learning what you were employed to do, but you were also getting an understanding of the people that you learn and collaborate with, what their roles are and how what the interdependencies are. It was a time when we also bonded, and I think there was a lot of team spirit because we were in the same predicament, being laughed at and mocked. When is the TV going to start? I remember meeting someone and them just saying, just go back to school, this is not worth it. I did go back to school, of course, but I also did continue with the job. And then the TV eventually launched on the 1st of April, 1999. We were also blessed again to have the Namibian crew come in, take us through the launch, and then we proceeded to operate on our own. I'll start with the load time because it's easy to remember. I think there were two things that happened. It was a good thing, it was a bad thing. I got a chance to visit Mozambique on a disaster reporting workshop in the aftermath of the floods in the year 2000. So it was seeing firsthand like what had happened, going to places where you'd see that the floods had affected, visiting the hospital where people were still months later trying to recover and get their lives back together. We visited places where the shop owners had abandoned their shops, they could not be traced, people could not find their family members. And we even stayed in a town called Chokwe, in a small hotel where you could actually see the level to which the flood waters had risen on the wall. So that was happy, yes, to be going for trading abroad, but it was also a low moment of the career where you actually see the devastation of a real life situation, caused by a real life situation. Another low moment then that happened immediately after that was that the studio, the station caught fire. And the tape from that disaster reporting workshop had come. So it was sad that the station had caught fire, but the tape was also destroyed in the damage. And I never got to see what we actually produced on that disaster reporting workshop, because it had drawn participation from journalists around the region. And some of them were names that I saw and knew when I was growing up. Like we had a ZNBC News reporter, Margaret Chimanse. She was on ZNBC News when I was a child and never thought that I would ever work in TV. So it had a lot of professional input, and it was organized by Beyond Our Borders, two people, a lady called Miriam Patsanza and a guy called Vic Sutton. So that went in the smoke and fire, and also I think the fire also impacted the operations of the station as a whole. The highlights, everything was a highlight, I'd say. There were a lot of good moments. The bonding that we had, the friendships that still exist until today, the opportunity to read the news in Namibia it was a 10 o'clock news, but at least in my humble opinion, I got an international stint on news reading. And also being able to read the news here in Malawi, and also just being able to tell people stories. Whatever the story was, you go out there, you gather the information, you tell the story, and that story is able to bring about a positive impact or bring about a change in society. Sometimes it wasn't my doing. I remember there was an incident that happened. I won't mention the organization, but it resulted in the death of someone. And one of the reporters here at the station was on his way to work and came across that information. The story was, he came and reported it here and went back with a cameraman. The story was reported, and that gave momentum to fixing the problem, because it was a public safety issue, fixing the problem that was there at the time, and I believe even compensating the families that were affected. So the highlight was pretty much the positive change that responsible reporting or responsible journalism can bring about. Lastly, the other highlight was I am an avid soccer fan, so I think I leaned towards soccer reporting, so I always had free access to the stadium and football matches. That was my happy moment. Thank you very much. I will be honest, I am not best placed to mention improvements because I don't really watch TV. And that's not just NBC TV, but even DSTV. I literally spend minimal time on TV. I'd say for the news bulletins that I've watched, so far so good. From stepping in here today, I'm thinking that maybe we are well on our way there, but technically there are some things that could come in that would probably ease the way people do their jobs, equipment-wise and so on and so forth. In terms of news reading, I don't have insight, but I know that then the training was rigorous. We were trained by Nora Polis from NBC TV, and then the other people that I have mentioned afterwards. So it took a while for us to even go onto the news in Namibia, and even then it wasn't the 8 o'clock news, it was a 10 o'clock like late night bulletin, because obviously you literally have to be tested, they have to see if you're ready and if the news is going to flow as it should flow. So hopefully that is in place. In terms of programming, I think also there's a lot more that can be covered. For me, I think I'm passionate about development. So I would look to programming that can inspire the youth and give them ideas or bring discussions to the table about what they can do with their lives, like just those positive discussions that can shape the future generation.
Ine choyamba dzina langa ndine Helbert Bilani Mtua. Of course that Bilani nalisintha nanga ndi ku challenge atizizika maina apo okamba zambi ndesi naganizira nyuwaniro komano ndilisintha. Ine magwira ndithu kuyambira namba kuna ngati presenter kenako nakhala producer komanso ngati anchor, and I ended up also being a reporter. So timakanga kuti we are doing much skilling, timapanga ngati trying to be jacks of all trades. But basically wambiri tabwera kuti longe kunoko nafika ngati producer amene amayang'anira Central ndi Northern Region pamene TVM inasegula office yathu pano mu mzinda wa Lilongwe. Program amene timapanga ndithu nthawi imeneyo analipo osiyanasiyana. Komano kwambiri ma program amene ndingatchule kwambiri monga ine ndino ngati Michael Wali inali ma program amene timaicha kuti Women Can, program imene mati amayi angathe. Komanso nayamba program ina imene timaicha kuti One on One imene timacheza kwambiri ndi akazembe amayiko ena amene ali mdziko muno, cholenga kuti tidziwe chimene abwerera kuno komanso kuti iwowo kudziko kunoko amapindula chani komanso Malawi imapindula chani, kuti ubale wa ukazembe umatanthauza chani malingana ndi imene zimakhalira. So that was another program I was doing. Program ina imene nimapanga kwambiri imene nimakumbukira kwambiri ndi ya Reach Out and Touch imene ninayambitsa ndikukhulupirira kuti idakalipobe imene tinayambira kuno ku Lilongwe mpaka na inakula kwambiri moti nimakhala kusangala kwambiri chifukwa cha program ngati imene ija imene anthu ambiri mdziko la Malawi yathandizika, komanso inali program imene inafika so mpaka na masukulu mmene, komanso anthu ambiri apita muzipatala zakunja kuthandizidwa program, nkhalamba zamangiridwa nyumba, opuwala alandira njinga zambiri nokha mukudziwa zimene zachitika program. Then mati nkakhala pansi ndithu ndimakumbukira program imene ija ngati imodzi mwa chinthu chimene ineyo nayambisa pano pa TVM. Pali zambiri zimene zikuchitika. There are a lot of improvements and there is a lot of creativity that is happening. Of course, with the coming of AI has made things much simpler for the new generation, but for us everything was manual. You had to do it yourself. So it was a very exciting time, and with the coming of new technology and developments, we can see that it's becoming more exciting. Of course, very artificial. It was really exciting. You'll be surprised. The way I started TVM was that I came to TVM was not kuti ndikaonera tsiku na TV mamawa. Then now when I present amene makupangira, I said no, I think I can do much better than that. And then I came to Kwaja office. So what I did was defika by reception nango gogoda kufika by reception atufuna ndani na uzalando funa Benson Tembo time ina nali a director general. Akuti za personal kamena za business. Nana kuti ai za personal because inaziwa kuti indikana kuti za business that I was going to be referred to a different office, but I thought if I say personal I'll be able to meet the guy, so I wanted to break that barrier. I ended up meeting the gentleman. Much respect I give him. I said sorry, I lied, I don't know you, I just know that you're the director general, but I saw what I saw on TV in the morning, I think I can do better than that. So he started laughing. He's looking at me, he's like, young man, are you okay? I said, yes, I'm okay. So then he called on the phone, late Rehana Nyamilandu Manda, may her soul rest in eternal peace. He said, can you please come? There's an interesting young man here. So Rehana came into the office and then he says, this guy says he can do better than what he's seeing on TV. So because we've got my auditions next week, can you please put him on the list? So that's how I joined NPC, and it's been a very exciting journey. Probably I can say because it came out of passion. I was passionate about TV, and I'm still passionate about TV, and I'm still doing things related to media. Also, TV has taught me a lot of things. The very first thing I learned when I joined TV was that in the first place, my psych thought that Antuena, amene timacheza nawo, amene amesana pite nkalasi kaya anthu akumwizi timadzoni mani mali kanga ndikuti athosa zindikira. That's the mentality I had. Kukulira town, kuona kuti anthu amene make alibe nzeru. But nadabatika pita mmidzi mama ankhula anthu amidzi kuna zimene akuuza zimene akuyankhula pamene mindset yake nazasintha kuti no aliyense ali ndi nzeru simatengera sukulu kapena chimene ukudziwa komano munthu wina aliyense pa dziko lapansi ali ndi nzeru. So I learned to be humble and to respect each and every person at a very young age. So that's another biggest lesson I learned from TV. But maybe the three, I think if I can be allowed, those were most exciting moments. The very one of the moments was I was at the office right here at City Center, and then someone came to see someone at the office, and then after the person went, she was a lady, and I asked the gentleman, who's the lady? And then the gentleman says, no, that lady and the brother wage alikutiko DRC nde amazanduuza kuti zili motere. So I said, DRC? Yes. How come? Asayala dziko lina amateteza kuti kumene koko. So something I didn't know, kuti we have our men and women protecting or doing such kind of defensive operations, military operations in other countries. I was so excited. I felt so proud to be a Malawian that we've got our men and women outside Malawi keeping peace. So what I did was I wrote a very small proposal and I gave it to Mr. Chuma then. I said, Mr. Chuma, I heard exciting news and this is what is happening and I want to go there. And Mr. Chuma looked at me and said, Mr. Ntoa, are you serious? I said, no, I want to write a proposal right now. And I wrote a proposal within a few minutes, just 2, 3, 4 pages. I went to the military, the barracks, and I went straight to the Army General's office and I said, I've heard this story and this is my proposal. And the proposal is very simple. This is December and we have got our men and women in battle. Why don't we bridge the gap? Why don't we do a program, Ndinajambula, barracks, Mose, whatever, we edit and then we send it to the DRC, that akaonere kumene koko asilikali. That will bring some joy and connection to the families and pride. And they said, that's exciting, Mr. Ntoa. But before he said this, I left the proposal on the desk and then I gave it to the chief of staff. The moment I moved out of the gate, as I was going towards Institute, I received a phone call. I was like, hello, Mr. Ntoa, this is Major General Chizigo. Can you please come back? So I went. I said, ma'am, I've read your proposal and I'm so excited and this is what I want and this is how they do in other countries. There's a plane leaving next week for inspection. I want you in that plane. So it was that instant. So I was so excited that something that happened with a few minutes and the reaction and then the excitement and everything, it was just so overwhelming. And that was then we flew to the DRC.
Ndine okondwa kuti lero tikusangalalira kuti TV kumalawi kuno yatha zaka zambiri ngati zimenezi 27. Chondisangalatsa kwambiri nchoena kuti ine ndinayamba kugwira ntchito ku TV itangotha chaka chitsegulire ndiye ndinali magulu oyambirira kujoyina 2000 imene ndiye ndinokondwa kuti mu nthawi yonseyi TV yatha zaka zimenezi ndipo ilipobe ikugwira ntchito zambiri zosangalatsa anthu kuchokera mu kanema. Lero kuli ma TV ambiri komabe ndifonyadira kuti TV imene iyi ndi TV imene ikuonekabe kuti ndi manthu wa ma TV onse ndi number 1 ndifayona kuti experience komanso ukadaulo uliko ndithu ndipo zinthu zikuoneka kuti zikuyenda bwino. Masiku oyambirira titayamba ntchito kumene ili TVM zinali zosangalatsa kwambiri chifukwa mudziko muno izi za ma social media zachani kunalibe, kunali TV yokha ochepa okha ndi amene ankaonera DSTV koma amalawi ambiri ankaonera TVM. Chosangalatsa chachikulu chinali choyenera kuti ukangoti watuluka ukuyenda upita ku nyumba kapena uli mtawuni aliyense amakuyitana amakutchula ndi ana omwe. Izi zinatipangitsa kuti makhalidwe athu mene tizikhala opereka chitsanzo nthawi zonse chifukwa anthu ambiri amatiyang'ana kuti awa amagwira ntchito ku TV. Zikusiyana ndi lero anthu ena amagwira ntchito ku TV simungadziwe kuti agwira ntchito ku TV koma nthawi imene yoyo aliyense amene amagwira ntchito ku TV anali munthu odziwika. Ndiye chifukwa cha chimenecho tinkamva kukoma kwambiri koma chosangalatsa kwambiri mmene timakhalira kale ili TVM timakhala ngati ana abanja limodzi, timadziwana munthu kwawo banja lawo, timadziwana ana awo mayina ndi mmene akukhalira, zinthu zikachitika zinthu timakhalira limodzi. Nthawi zina timangowuzana tiyeni lero tikakhala kwakuti tikasangalale kwakuti. Zinali zinthu zosangalatsa kwambiri, timakhala ngati ana abanja limodzi. Ichi ndi mwina ndi chimene chinapangitsa kuti TVM ikhale yopita patsogolo ifo anthu timathandizana, timagwirira ntchito limodzi ndipo tinkakondana. Koma chachikulu kwambiri ndikuona ngati chifukwa cha upangiri umene unalipo nthawi imeneyo. Fa nthawi imene timagwira ife ntchito kumeneko, a director general anali Dr. Benson Temple amene lero ali chairperson wa board ya MBC. Anali mzungu magwiro yake a ntchito. Zimene zimachitika iweyo umagwira ntchito yako mogwirizana ndi mmene ukugwirira potsatira line yopanga ripoti kwa bwana ako. Zina zonsezo iwo bola ntchito yekuta ikugwirika, amatipasa mpata ukuti tigwire ntchito imene tingakwanitse. Ndiye ndimafuna ndiyamikire kuti chifukwa cha upangiri wawo anthu tinatengera zimenezo, TV timagwira ntchito bwino kwambiri. Ku TVM ndagwira ntchito zingapo zitatu. Koyambirira tinalowa kuyamba ngati ogwira ntchito ku Final Control Center ku FCC, kumene anthu akapanga ma production, akapanga news kuti zikafikire anthu, ndiye kuti ife ndamene timagwira ntchito imeneyo. Ndiye kumeneko ndingagwira ntchito ndi anthu ngati Mr. Julius Banda amene ladakalipo, a Clemens Mvonye, Magi Matekesa, Kelvin Moyo, Richard Koviwa, Malemu Augustine Mauwa ndiyena. Ifeyo ndithu ndi gulu lathu limene timagwira ntchito ngati imeneyo. Kuchokera pamenepo director general a Benson Temple anazandiuza nthawi ina yake kuti iweyo mmene ukuonekera mawu ako ukhoza kuwerenga nkhani, uli ndi voice yabwino kwambiri. Pano pati mapanga nkhani za Chizungu ndi za Chichewa, iweyo Chichewa imene ukuyankhulira ndi mawu ako ukhoza kuwerenga nkhani. Ndiye anapita ukandiyesa pa Chizungu amati audition. Mwamwayi ndinatani ndinakhoza, ndiye ndinayambaso kuwerenga nkhani ndithu za Chichewa zimene zimabwera 7 koloko, zimabweranso nthawi ina 6 koloko. Ndiye kumene koko poyambirira tinalipo anyamata awiri basi timawerenga nkhani zimenezo. Panali ine ndi nzanga Tithokoze Khonyongo. Kutero mpaka na lero anthu ena amanthawi nditana mtown muja kusemphanisa Tithokoze Khonyongo. Ndiye timauza kuti ine ndi Washon. Tithokoze Khonyongo asamandiuza kuti ena asamatomuitana kuti Washon, amauza kuti ine Tithokoze Khonyongo. Chifukwa nthawi imene tinalipo anthu awiri amene timasinthana kuwerenga nkhani. Ndiye izi ni ntchito zina zimene ndimagwira. Ntchito yomaliza imene ndinamalizira kugwira ntchito ku TVM inali ntchito ya ukamera person yojambula. Ineyo nali munthu mmodzi amene nali ndi chidwi kuti ndiphunzire magawo onse aku TV. Ndiye kujambulako ndiye ni majambuladi. Ndiye kumene kunimagwira ntchito ndi mabwana anga ngati achina Wilson Kuntambira amene akadalipo mpaka na lero, komanso Mr. Chuma amene anapanga retire, ndiye na Malemu Innocent Gandali, Yona Nkhata, Bwana Ali Makote, Richard Koviwa. Komano anthu amadziwa abe kuti kamera ndikayigwira ineyo inali live on tape. Mukhoza kungotenga kayamba kuulusa osapanga edit, zinthu kumango floor ndi ukadaulo umene tinaphunzira umene zimene ndikukondwera pano kuti anzathu akutani akutsatira momwemo. Ndiye mwina ndinganene kuti ndayenda choncho ulendo wanga ochokera 2000 kuchokera 2015 pamene nasiya ntchito ku MBC.
Amadaba amanena anthu kuti ndinaolongolola, koma munthu ine kunena zoona ndinofasa kwambiri. Ndipo kwa anthu ngati Benson Temple ndi anthu ena akuluakulu atakuyikira umboni kuti ineyo ndilankhule, amayenera kuti chimene chochite kuchitulusa mwa ineyo. Koma zimene zimachitika nzonena kuti titabwera tinapeza work environment yosangalasa kwambiri. Kuyambira anthu omagwira nawo ntchito, ndimakumbukira nabwera nthawi imodzi ndi anthu ngati Saulo Stindwa, Malemu Chaliwa Katola, Gladys Kandali, ndi tinapeza china Tamara Kumbo, komanso kunali Malemu Chipiriro Matia, Akuntaja Kusali Kubwalo, Agnes. So it was a very interesting environment kusangalasa kwambiri kuti kucheza komanso kugwira ntchito pamakhala ndi to balance. Chinthu chimodzi chimene ndimasangalala kwambiri kunali kuonena kuti Malawi sikunangokhala malo oti ukagwira ntchito, koma umakhala ngati kuti ndi college ya moyo. Ndikukumbukira tikayambana kapena munthu akakukhumudwisa tinali ndi amalemu Poto Nintenje kupita mu office mwawo kapena iwo akangokuona amangodziwa kuti mwana uyu atsamwidwa akugwirapo pankono. Ine anandigwirapo pankono nthawi ina yake kundipitisa kuchali chikusenti olamba kapena ukalowa mu office mwawo ukudandaula zina zake akupasa papaya akuti tasenda iwe ukamamaliza kusenda papaya uja waiwala chimene chinakutsamwisa. So zinali zinthu ndithu zosangalasa. China chimene chinali chosangalasa Benson Tembo analionena kuti they wanted the best out of you, and ndikukumbukira ndinalinso ndi background ya radio malemu Davis Musa anatiphunzitsa amakuchedwesa kuti usafike pa air amafuna kuti ukhale ndithu utafika ma standards ena. Ndikukumbukira mmutu mwangamu chinakhazikika zimenechi malemu Davis Musa akumandiuza kuti we don't say parliament, we say parliament, not lia but la. So that kind of a thing amaesesa kuti ma standards akhalepo, and they did this out of love. Sikunali zijazo kuti kukukakamika kapena kukukaniza koma amafuna ukuza kuti no, TV ndi chinthu chovuta. When you make mistakes pa TV, ma mistake amene wata aone ndi anthu ambiri, ndi feedback imene ungalandire ikhala yosakhala bwino. Koma tikakukonza kuno tikhala ngati no ifeyo tikuwauza anthu kuti munthu wathu amene timamukonza uja ndi uyu arirede ndi mmene ndithu zinalili. Nthawi imeneyo timapanga ndinapanga school ya journalism ya utolankhani, koma ntabwera ndimapanga za utolankhani komanso kupatula pamenepo tinayambisa program. Producer athu anali Takonda Jumbe, ine ndi Kumbo Kachibekete tinayambisa program imene rather tinali ma presenters tankati Youth Magazine. Kanaka program ndithu go paper anthu ankaganiza kuti ine ndi Kumbo mwina mwake ndi banja kuti siku la lero mwina mwake azaona kuti zokhala banja, koma in fact behind the scenes ine ndi Kumbo timamenyana kwambiri. Koma it was really exciting my first years kumaphunzira kuti kuchita na toilet, kusamalirana, kuchita na toilet, kuphunzirana ma characters, kumatha kuzindikira achina kusale achina kuntaja amakhala kuti achita kukonzeka kuti lero apanga za iwe ukakhala in my case nalofasa koma nalokula mtima. So amafuna kuti kukuchola mapiko kuti to put you in your rightful places but all for the right reasons. Later on nakhala ndikupano poni magwira ntchito ndi akuntaja tinkakokana koma pano ndi anzanga. Ndimakumbukira akuntaja nthawi imene amati akalemba chizungu ndi amakuza nchaula tabwera kuno ndi malemu chipitiro ukuchimva bwanji chizungu chimenechi mpanga iwe kumasirira kuti akuti kuti ukungofuna utandilanda mutu umenewo kuti upange choni. So anatiphunzitsa ndithu Chingerezi choyenerera pakanema komanso osati Chingerezi choyenerera pakanema pokha komano kuti malankhulidwe achilankhulo chilichonse. Pano ineyo ndimakonda kwambiri zilankhulo Chiyawo Chitumbuka ndimamvapo, kwina kumene ndinapita ku school uko kachilankhulo kameneko ndimamvapo, palinso ka language kena kake cha international ndimamvapo. So zonsezi zinatheka chifukwa cha kunasali imene tinadusa ndithu ya ku TV Malawi. Kufika lero ndikupangabe ndithu zimenezi za TV. Panakhala soka 10 years kena kake gapo ntachoka ku TV chifukwa TV ndangogwira zaka ziwiri napezeka tinapita ku PSI nakagwira zaka 9 kumene kunaphunzira kwambiri za technical. Anatibweresera mphunziso ochokera kunja ntamaliza ntchito kumene kuja ndinayambisa kanga kakampani kakang'ono na tamanga nako for about 10 years kenako kuona kuti zikuvuta munthu nenda kula ndi ana mwina ana angavutike. What I did was to go back on ntchito. So it's been an all round experience yosangalatsa kwambiri. Ndakulako ku TV kuja I still am passionate. Komanso china chimene ndimafuna kuyamikira ndichonena kuti TV inandipasa family. Ine munthu nembanja la kwathu nabadwa ndi azongo anga anayi, awiri akulu awiri apansi, koma TV napeza ma brothers ambiri ndithu amene ndimagwira nawo ntchito komanso anthu amene timatumikira. Umati ukapita kumalo umaona ndithu kunena kuti anthu akukudziwa kapena. Ine ku TV ndinayamba ntchito ngati assistant reporter atandilemba ntchito ndikuti ntolankhani. Ndinene kuti osati kuyamba ngati kuti sunafike koma kuti ukakhala kuti wachita bwino ukhala ntolankhani. so amatiphunzitsa on the job ngakhale kuti tinakhala kuti tikuchokera ku skulu kawo kachenjede ndi kupatula pamenepo amatiphunzitsanso ntchito imene yokhala ndithu ngati mkonzi wa maprogram ndi mapanga zimenezo koma kupatula pamenepo ineyo ndili ndi chidwi panga maprogram kuti kukhala kuima kutsogolo kwa kamera komanso kukhala kumbuyo kwa kamera ndi makhala ndi chidwi nthawi imeneyo ndikuti achina Bwanali Makote Malemu Yona Nkhata Wilson Kuntambira zimakamera zikulu mati ndikapanga zina undipeza andigwira nikuseweretsa kamera iwe upanga utani pamene ukusowa kamera imene ndiyodula makumako but sizinatenge nthawi anthu aja anazindikira kuti kangati amafuna za kamera atapanga ndi pang'ono amatiphunzitsa ndi mutu umatseguka ku skulu ku secondary tinayi kuti tinkapangako ka business ka photo time imene ma 35mm ndi nakhala kuti tikupanga zambiri tinaphunzira za utolankhanizo kukhala kutsogolo kwa kamera kenako kujambula kumene chimene chinandivuta ndili ku TV Malawi was editing nthawi imene ankakuuza kuti imene amati linear editing chimakhala ndithu chikonso chachikulu ndisindimachimvesesa bwino komano pano zinthu zinasintha mmatha kuyuza computer program mmatha kuyambira komaliza kupanga edit koma chokacho ndimamusirira kunali Zirani kunali Titokoze Konyongwa koma kwambiri ineyo mapanga za utolankhani zochita zokonza maprogramu ndi kwambiri nayi ndi interest imene ya za kamera nyengo zonena kuti mwina kuzikumbukira zinalipo zambiri ndimakumbukira ndinasankhidwapo nthawi ina yake kuti ndikapange MC World AIDS Day tsiku lokumbukira HIV ndi AIDS pa dziko lapansi and nthawi imeneyo function imeneyo mambo wake kapena kuti ndime yake inali yoti young men and AIDS eventually sindinakapange koma kuti kunachita bwera anthu kuchokera kunaki takusankhani inuyo nthawi imeneyo amene amakhala MC mama event akuluakulu oti kukakhala president akakhala kuchokera ku media anali Atembo ndi anthu ena kulachi na Grosso Midi ndandani I was very young still a teenager ndikakhale kuti ndikachite MC zimenezo zinandisuntha kundipasa tsemwe ndithu nthawi ina inalinso yonena kuti Malema Justin Malewezi amene timatumikira nthawi imeneyo atapezeka kuti anatumidwa ndi Abakiri Muuza amene anali president kuti apite ku United Nations kunali General Assembly anapezeka kuti iwo anapempha kuti kufuna maripota then anasankha atapasa maripota ananena kuti anapempha kuti Nyamata uja mukatipasa bwanji ineyo zinandidabwisa kuti ine kwa anthu onse amene ali ndikuthekera pamene popo kumaiko akutali amene nali ngati kuti ndapita anali ama-Africa momuno sinayisanapite so kuyamba kwanga kupita ndithu kudusa nyanja ya Njere anali ulendo umenewo abambo Malewezi ndimaamisa usati just before kuti ananditenga kupita menewo koma amandiphunzitsa anali aphunzitsi mbuyo mwana headmaster andikakhala kuti kuyenda nawo kati upita kunchisi kwacho waliwalekaya kuti amandiphunzitsa history ya Malawi amandiphunzitsa mamanazi amandiyang'ana mmene ndavalira panali zinthu zambiri sindikudziwa kuti panopo ataona sisi anganene kuti chani koma we had developed a very very respectable healthy relationship between an older person and the young prodigy that he really took in nkadiseka nthawi imeneyo Q timakumbukira akupanga mu school yake au kachenjede ku UK kukafika tinapita kukamuona unza bambo anga amakukonda kwambiri amafuna ineyo ndikanakhala ngati iwe nthawi imeneyo ndiyo kuti Q ali ni Madrid mopanga chonchi so it was really something that was very exciting pakhalanso pakumachitika ma incidences ena mapezeka kuti mapasidwa ma assignments akulu kunena anokuti ndikapasidwa ma assignment icha kumabwera akuluakulu achina kuntajawa achina Agnes Muzere kundichita coach kunena kuti ichi chimene ukapanga ichi ndi chachikulu ndikukapange choncho ukapange ngati kuti aunipanga malekezi things that were indeed very humbling. There was a very big support structure kumbuyo kwathu, so that is one of the things imene ndimakumbukira kwambiri muli chimandi sangalasa.
Malawi tukano tikaona kuti TV inayamba liti panopo ndi kuti padusa zaka 27.
Yes.
Mungakambepo zota.
Ndizoona kuti padusa zaka 27 tikatengera 1999 mene TV yathu homegrown inabwera. We have moved in. Ine dzina langa ndine Tithokoze Khonyongwa. Ndinalembedwa ntchito pa 1 April 2000. Nthawi imene atandiuza kuti takulemba ntchito ndinali ndi chisangalalo chodabwitsa kwambiri because of my background. Ndinalembera ntchitoyo munthu wokuti sindikudziwana ndi aliyense kumeneko, koma ndinangokhala ndi chikhulupiriro kunena kuti ine uku ndimafuna nditagwirako ntchito. So ndinalembera mene ndimayiona advert nkuti nthawi itatha, but I had faith kuti ineyo anditenga. So atandiyitana for interviews panapita mwina over close to a year. Kenako ndi pamene amatiuza kuti akutengani. Anandiuza kuti tinatenga anthu, tinachita interview anthu 17. Pa anthu 17 anatenga anthu awiri, Dexter Kanike ndi munthu wina Patrick Tembo. Anandiuza kuti Patrick Tembo tamuyang'ana kulikonse koma sitinampeze, and therefore we have settled for you. Kwa ineyo ndimapita ngati number 3, atayang'ana number 2 osampeza. So kwa ine ndinangotenga kuti ndinakayamba ntchitoyo mwachisomo, and ndinakhala from 2000 mpaka na 2007 when I left. Komano ku television Malawi anali malo osangalatsa kugwirako ntchito, chifukwa kanali koyamba kuti Malawi muno mukhale wireless yakanema imene anthu onse amaonera. Sizinali ngati imene zilili pano kuti anthu amakhala ndi choice yomasankha kuti ndionera izi ndionera. Wireless yakanema inali imodzi. So anali malo osangalatsa kugwirako ntchito. Ine ndinayamba ngati video editor amene ndimadula zithunzi komanso kukonza ma program kuwayika kuti anthu adzitha kuwaonera atakonzedwa bwinobwino. Ndi ntchito imene ndinayamba kugwira. Nthawi imene timagwira ntchito mabwana athu osiyanasiyana amatilimbikitsa kuti tiziphunzira zinthu zosiyanasiyana, multi-skilling. Ndiye ku technical kumene ndinali, kunali ku camera section, kunali ku FCC kumene kunali nga final control center kumene amaulutsa zinthu kuti zipite pa air, komanso kunali ku editing, komanso ku technical. Ndiye at least malo atatuwa ku FCC, ku camera ndi ku editing umayenera kungu yesetsa kudziwa kuti zinthu zimayenda motani, kuti uzitsata zinthu zikamachitika. So zimene zonse zinandithandiza moyo mwanga kuti ndidziwe, ndikhale ndi maluso a zinthu zambiri ngati kujambula, kukonza, kudula zinthu, kudula ma program aja, komanso kuulutsa zinthu. Ndinakhalanso ndi mpata omawerenga nkhani zachichewa. Nthawi zina pakafunika kutero amatiponyeranso za chizungu, koma kwambiri zimakhala zachichewa. Amene timawerenga kwambiri zachichewa tinali ine, Herbert Ntuwa, komanso Felix Washon. Ndi amene timapanga kwambiri nkhani zachichewazi. Tikatenga nthawi zimene ndimazikumbukira kwambiri, nthawi zabwino, ndiyambe nthawi zabwino. Nthawi zabwino ndi anthu amene timakhala nawo, anthu amene timagwira nawo ntchito. Anali anthu ofuna kukuchita mentor, kukuphunzitsa zina. Ndikuwuzani za Kusali Kubwalo, Aina Tombozi, Dora Mangulama, Swine Chinkango, Wellington Kuntaja, Chipiriro Matia. Anthu amene wawa mwina iwo osadziwa amandithandiza kuti ndiyambe kumalemba. Ndinaphunzira kulemba chifukwa cha anthu amene wawa
mimi chifukwa choti ndimagwira nawo ntchito pafupi mwina kukonza maprogramu a president akapita kunja zina zotero ndi pogwira ntchito ndi anthu amene wawo anandipanga kukhala nanenso ofuna kumakonza maprogramu kupanga madocumentary ndi zina zotero ndimathokoza kwambiri kuzunguliridwa ndi anthu amene wazirani khonje anthu amene wawo anandithandiza kwambiri. Ndinaphunziranso that was where I identified kuti ndili ndi voice imene ndingathe kumapanga nayo ma advert. Anandiuza zimene zanalizirani khonje kuti voice yako iwe ukhonza kumapangira ma advert ndinayamba kupanga ma advert. Akatandiuza I never knew kuti I have a voice that could be used kupangira ma advert. So it took anthu ena kusha identify the talent that I had kuti ndikhonza kuyamba kupanga ma voices a commercial. So zimene zonse ndi zabwino zimene ndimazikumbukira. Komanso there are high moments. Tinali ndi abwana ena mundilola kuti nsachule dzina amene amati akakwiya kwambiri amakuza kuti you are fired. Usazabwereso kuntchito you are fired. Ineyo at first I thought kuti he was serious. Moti basi nadandaula ndicho satu ntchito ine. Basi anzanga tandoza kuti amene ajani mena makhalira isuti mawa ukabwereso. So I came back kuona kumaganiza kuti mwina anduza kuti maisa ndakuza kuti you are fired. Basi kuona kuti mawa tikucheza bwinobwino. So those are just high moments zimene ndimazikumbukira koma mkulu amene uja basi amangokuza kuti you are fired. It was quite exciting. Nthawi yomwe ndimayikumbukira yomvetsa chisoni ndi nthawi imene TV Malawi inapya pa nthawi imene tinayamba kupanga ndalama kwambiri chifukwa ineyo ndimapanga ma advert ndiye ma advert aja amatipatsa ma talent fee. Ukagwiritsa ntchito voice yako ukachita edit amakupatsa some allowance kuti ngati talent fee chifukwa choti wagwira ntchito ndiye tinayamba kumazipopola ndalama osati masewera. Just to give you a picture, zimateka nthawi imene timalandira nthawi imene I remember timalandira about 13,000 thereabout. Koma talent fee akayiphatikiza ndimatha kumafika 45,000, you can imagine. So ndimazipopola osati masewera za talent izo, and that was the moment when TV Malawi inapya. So zimene zinasintha basi matalent aja basi anasiya mmene zilili musitenga mapereke so matalent, so zinthu zinasintha. Koma no ineyo ndimathokoza kwambiri kuti kupezeka kugwira ntchito ku TV Malawi kunandipatsa track record yokuti yabwino zandipangitsa kuti nditasiya ntchito kumene kuja ndikuyamba ma consultancies magwira ntchito zanga. Anthu amakhala nane ndi chikhulupiriro kuti ndikhonza kuwapangira ntchito zabwino. Ndagwirako ma consultancy ku Reserve Bank, ndagwira ndi United Nations, ndagwira ndi ma organization abwino ma consultancies anga chifukwa anthu amakhala ndi chikhulupiriro kuti kumene ndikuchokera ndi madziwa zomwe zinthu zimene zimayina kalira. Komanso panopo kumene ndikugwira ntchito malo amene ndimangothokoza Mulungu kuti sizikanatheka mwina kugwira ntchito. Komano ndimakhulupirira kuti track record imene ndili nayo kuchokera ku background imene ya ku television Malawi imapereka confidence kwa anthu amene ndikuwagwirira ntchito kuti ndikhonza kupanga zinthu zakupya, zinthu zimene zingathe kuoneka chichewa chamati kumtuku anthu. Zinthu zimene ungathe kubwera nazo ugulu anthu ndikamikira kuti apa pagwiridwa ntchito. So ndimangothokoza Mulungu for the journey that I have walked through the corridors of television Malawi. Ineyo kukhala mbali imodzi ya history ya television Malawi ndi chinthu chopatsa chidwi kwambiri. Maybe kumalizira ndingonena kuti tsiku lina tikupanga programu ya mmawa timati mwatidzutsa ndi Mary Matupa. Timapanga panali munthu wina amene amapanga za ma exercise kulumpha chanchani. Ndi Mary anafunsa kuti koma sitingapeze chichewa chabwino cha kulumpha za ma exercise ba aerobics. So something just came to my mind as I said with that. Koma popeza kujoa we can call it majoa. kuyambira pamene popo anthu anayamba kunena amajowajowa mpaka na lero anthu amangonena ma exercise ati majowajowa. I look back with excitement kunena kuti television is really powerful. Ukonza kuyambitsa chinthu chabwino anthu ndochitengera komanso ukonza panga chinthu choyipa. So in this case ine ndimaona ngati ndinali agent wa kuchita create chinthu china chimene anthu anatha kuchitengera mpaka na lero anthu amanena majowajowa zimene tinangoziyamba ndi Mere Matupa that morning pa program ya Waditsutsa lerolo anthu amachitchula ngati mawu okhazikika. So I look back with excitement and I say, no, to God be the glory. We come this far by faith. Mwina ndingomaliza unena kuti there is a lot that has improved ku television Malawi tikayerekeza ndi nthawi imene ife tinakhala. Chimodzi chimene ndimachiona ndi ma graphics. Nthawi yathu kuti mupange ntchito yokhala ndi ma graphics abwino ngati mene zimakhalira mina ma graphics a news ma billboard ama program nthawi yathu zimakhala zovuta chifukwa we had to use mwina ma software ena amene anali achikalekale. Koma lerolo a lot has changed and I look at television Malawi, I look at MBC now, kumaona there is a lot of improvement. I just thank God for that.
I'm Gladys Ntenda. I joined TVM as a reporter in 2004. That time I was supposed to be in Lilongwe, but I had to go to Blantyre for orientation, supposedly for about 3 weeks, but I ended up being 6 months in Blantyre. It was an experience for me. It was something that I never expected because like in our group, there were like 11 of us and out of the 11, it was me and Janet Muhammadi then as the only girls in the team. So it was quite challenging because we were in a team of all men, like all boys, and we're the only 2 of us. For me, I thought there was a kind of a high expectation on my part because for my bosses, the editors, they were expecting more from me for whatever reason. I didn't know then, but I think there's something that they saw in me. Because in my very first year, I was being given presidential assignments, which was, I was kind of, how am I going to do this? Because I've never worked for TV. That was like my first real job. So I kind of settled in. Yeah, so it was like that. So in the very first year, I was being given presidential assignments. I got used to that kind of practice, and then later on, the practice then was, if you are a reporter, you first started with like, for you to go, most of these presidential trips were the local ones. But for you to go international, if you just joined, like for the first like 3 years for you couldn't go beyond Malawi. It was just the local trips. But for me somehow, I don't know if it was, I think it was God's grace, or there was something that they saw in me. My very first year, I was surprised when the management then nominated me to go to cover the United Nations General Assembly in New York. That was my very first trip outside Malawi, and for the corporation, and I saw it as a very big opportunity for me. It was an honor, a humbling experience. I never expected. I was so scared, and even I could see even the team, everybody was surprised. She just came in. How did she, a reporter in her very first year, gets to travel to the US with the president? Then the president was the late Bingu Mutharika. I'm telling you, it was so, I was scared, and like everybody, there were others, they were doubting Thomases, they were like, are you going to manage it? But there were still those people that still trusted and believed in me. They say she's gonna make it. I mean, she's been covering the president locally, so it's just the venue that has changed, but otherwise it's still the same her. I remember then the editor, the chief editor then was Kuntaja. He had my back. He was like, yes, Gladys, I trust her. I believe in her. She was going to make it. So there were like a lot of so many behind the scenes things that were happening that even for me to tell people that I'm going to the US, I couldn't even tell them. I was like, because there was also another crew that was like, there were like 2 crews that were like processing their passports saying they were going for the same trip. So that's why I was not very sure that this trip is gonna materialize. But I still trusted because I was like told just continue the processing. Whatever the other behind the scenes that are happening, they are beyond you. Just do what is expected of you. So finally I left. But then it was quite interesting because I couldn't tell anyone apart from my parents. At least I was able to tell them that I'm going to cover the president at the United Nations General Assembly. But for the other people, I had to send. That time it was SMS era. So that time I had to start sending messages from the boarding lounge because I was still not sure if it was going to happen. So New York happened. It was like an experience that I don't even know how best to describe it. It was a very good experience. I was so exposed to like the first world. I got to rub shoulders with the people like those people from CNN. New York, it was like wow. So that was one of those highlights for me, which when I look back, I always look up to say, wow. I think there was really something that they saw in me. For me, even to say, despite that this is our first year at TVM, let her go. So even when I came back, I was so happy with the kind of treatment that I got from the editors because they knew that I've never done a documentary. That time the editor was Kusali. She helped me to make sure that the documentary was up to the mark. It was well done. So for the editors, they were so cooperative and they really helped me to shape me to be the person that I am today. And I know that there's no assignment that I can go to today and I would be like shaken. That built my confidence. That really built my confidence because I saw that despite me being just a junior reporter, the management trusted me with that kind of a role. So I was so grateful for that. And afterwards, then it was now Comesa. It was now I went to like several places. I went to Djibouti. I covered the Comesa summits, the SADC summit. So it was now that was my launch pad for me to be able to gain the confidence and for the management to trust in me with big responsibilities. Another interesting thing that I recall, the very first assignment that I was assigned, I was like, I wasn't sure what I was supposed to do. So I was assigned to that I was given that assignment. I went to that story, and then when I came back, I wrote the story, and then I showed the editor. The editor then, she was like, you know what, the grammar, everything about this story, your script is good, but there's no story. So I would want you to go back and interview those people again because there's no story here. I'm spiking this story, and I thought she was joking. But she did. The story was spiked, but me, I was like, so when I go back, what do I tell those people? What reason am I telling them that we have to redo the interviews? It didn't make sense. So I was like shy. I was embarrassed. I didn't do it. Yes, indeed, times have changed. There's so much that has changed from the time that I joined. That time we were using tapes, like DV cam tapes, which I understand you no longer use nowadays. Now, like even sometimes the reporter can also edit their own story. So I think for MPC it has to also move with the times. It should continue, make sure that whatever trends are coming, digital trends, the modern technologies that is emerging out there, you utilize them because there's no way you can avoid the emerging technologies. There's things like AI, there's the social media. So the social media pages now, the crowd out there is rough. People are so free to express whatever they can. So there has to be some sort of moderation in a way. Otherwise, I see when you see the crowd, when people are angry, they can say anything on the social media pages. But at the same time, that should also make you realize that you have to, whatever you do, it has to be in line with what people need. You have to give people what they need, not what you think they want to see on MPC or what the politician wants to see. You have to make sure that at least whatever you do, it's for the public. The public out there should be able to to be able to relate to it. MPC, the public broadcast, is something that we can look forward to watching. Because if you continue sticking to the old script, you find yourself you're losing out in terms of the numbers. The numbers are like when you live. it's always counting how many people are watching. You can see that it's like the same event being covered by Times, being covered by Zodiac and NBC, but you see the numbers. People would prefer to watch television B and not television C because they have this mentality in them that the NBC is kind of not professional enough, or it brings in their own things that their own things that are of their own interest. So it's all about numbers now. So if you continue sticking to the old script, you find that you're going to be losing out in terms of people that are watching. But then at the same time, I would say that I've had the time to watch NBC on 2 on the go. Yeah, I think that one is still gathering numbers. I think it's because if you centered, you centric. So I think they should continue the same path they are taking because people seem to be able to relate with NBC or 2 on the go because of its youth-centric appeal and the things that are being featured there. But yeah, so I would only urge NBC to continue moving with the times and continue do some research and see what people want. Don't impose things on people that they are not interested in. And otherwise, at the end of the day, you find yourself irrelevant. But I would say at the end, I would want to say at the finally as a concluding remarks, I would say that the experience that NBC gave me, it's something that I would always cherish and remember. Those humble beginnings, I was just this reporter that had I really didn't have an idea, but then NBC shaped me to the person that I am today, and I can fit in, even if it's online media, I'm able to fit in. Television I can do, radio, so it's like that approach, that 360 kind of centered approach is good because that's what media is all about these days. And I really want to thank management for according me that chance, for believing in me, and all the people that trusted me for greater roles, challenging roles that I was able to carry out. Thank you.
As we are celebrating a milestone marking the anniversary of Television Malawi, now known as Malawi Broadcasting Corporation, a platform that has entertained, educated, and also informed generations. Today, we are honored to be with one of the pioneers of Television Malawi, Zilani Konje. You are welcome, madam.
Thank you very much, Fatima.
So how do you feel, Ukala, in this industry for the longest time?
I'd say it really feels good. And it feels good because when you're passionate about something and your dreams become a reality and you have contributed, it really feels good. There's a lot that I've done in the media, and especially from TV to radio. So yeah, it feels really good.
That's nice. Well, now, would you take us back from the beginning? How did you join Television Malawi?
Okay, it's quite interesting because at the time the advert came out, I was in South Africa.
When was that?
That was in the 1996. Way back. I believe you were still in
I was a baby.
Yeah, so in 1996 is when the advert came out, and I applied from South Africa.
Oh wow!
And I sent it through express mail. I remember from there I sent it to my mom, and then she's the one that posted the application letter for me to Malawi Post. I think with Malawi Telecommunications, something like that. Until then, the ones that are managing that. And then when I came back, because it was towards the end of the year, if I'm correct. So when I came back, I started working for the then defunct Star newspaper as a reporter. And then it's during that time that there was an invitation to go for the interviews. And it was at Delamere House, Kuseli. Kuseli, that's where we found all these people from the Malawi Film Unit, I believe, that were interviewing us. And Benson Temple then was the one that was interviewing us.
Wow.
So it was quite interesting. So that's how my journey started. I applied, I forgot about it. Then we were called for interviews, young, dynamic, and then full of life. And this is television. It was really exciting.
Yeah, it was big, and I can imagine.
It was exciting. Yes.
But so what inspired you to pursue editing?
Okay. Initially, when I joined, when I was applying, I think, if I recall very well, I applied for presentation and reporting.
Oh, wow.
But you won't believe what happened that day. So I applied, and I was supposed to go through that direction as a reporter as well as a presenter. And we went to Namibia then. That's where we trained, Namibian Broadcasting Corporation. So the whole team that were the actual pioneers that were trained by Namibian Broadcasting Corporation. So when we came back, UNESCO came to train us as well. So there was a lot of investment that was being done kumaka training kuti tikamayamba tiyambe tikuzindikira zinthu zambiri. So when UNESCO came and they started training us, you won't believe who inspired me to do that. It was Clara. Clara.
Okay.
So she was the only lady, and she seemed to be enjoying what she was doing. I just got inspired because I had done computer studies then in 1996 in South Africa. So I was very conversant with machine, and I used to like television to fix things at home. And when I saw Clara working on the machines, I just said, I think this is what I need to do.
I have to be like her.
And I remember ndakasi tinali achitsikana kwa basi nthawi imeneyo ndikukumbukira kuti ndachitakwera pa table kupita mbali ndamuuza kala kodi zomwe apanga bwanji then namuuza kuti ine fund pange nawo editing. That's when I was trained as an editor. Ndimene nayambira kupanga editing time imene nali analog. So naphunzira ndicho amene amandiphunzitsa nali achina Clara achina Harry Chuma ndamene amandiphunzitsa makamaka anandiphunzitsa ineyo time imeneyo anali Clara. And that's when I got interested in editing as a field within television. Yes.
Wow. So how was your journey like? You know, being the only female at that time. You know, and mchiro yanu inali kinda yovuda in terms of technology. Whatever you're using that time. Tell us about the journey. How was it like?
It was a learning process because, as I said, it was a new field. So what happened at that time? It was me and Let's Finish in Kango that were now put to editing section, and you know these analog tape there'll be tapes and tapes. So in those years, nothing would go on air without being vetted. So it was quite interesting that in the afternoon we'll be editing news. Then news was recorded for a while. News programs, creating my sick tunes, montage for programs. That's what we were doing. Then we had to start working at night because the then Director General Benson Temple never allowed us to have any program which has not been vetted first. So we'll vet each program and do a report. So sometimes we'll spend the night at the office, just the two of us, or maybe to be me and or to be Sweeney, and then we'll be vetting all the programs. So we would vet all the programs, pile them. I think it was Neighbors that time. The program was called Neighbors. So all these Akubera, China, Super Vitani, that was our responsibility. So we vet programs, but at the same time we're editing. So it was one way of learning. By vetting, when you're vetting the programs, now you could see the editing skills from outside. And that's how I learned a lot. It was through that. That was before now we went into the latest technology in terms of analog. So in terms of programming, I would say that that's my journey. But because I had a journalism background, I had then a diploma in journalism. So when editing news, I remember because we created then a way you cannot come for editing without having that shit, and we were editing to pictures and not the other way around of editing pictures to the voice. So we're very strict on that one. So we'd edit all the we'd edit for news. I remember sometimes when I started editing news at 2 o'clock, I'll not sit down until a bulletin yambe. I'll be standing there, so no moving, nothing. But we're so fast with the analog system. So my journey in analog, I'd say, just in a nutshell, was that's how I got there. But when computers, some of it's changing and everything. I remember it was what we called the After Effects. So it's this huge computer that was there. Nobody knows how to use it. We received it. And then we're looking at it, okay, fine, what to do. But because, as I said, I was trained in computers then, secondary school in South Africa. I was already interested in these things. Like I see, because also I was exposed in I was very interested. And lucky enough, then I was sent to France just for 1 month to learn After Effects. And when I came back,
that was exciting.
It was After Effects. It was really exciting. So yeah, so that's my journey. So being trained under JICA, Japan, NHK. So there was a lot of experience. So my journey was really like that, but also contributing towards the productions. So when I remember when they starting the program called Pungu, and Zanjima Sokusandima Pungu, give the conceptualization of the programs, I also really participated, not as an editor, but this is how the program should look like. And I think I continued doing that until the end. Yeah, so my journey was really amazing. It was discovery of something new in terms of the media industry in Malawi. Kuti television and then you're pioneers, you're doing the editing. There was a time I was the only female in the technical department, the whole technical department. And I was lucky enough to have been the head of the editing section for a while, until the time that I left NBC to join the development communication sector. Yeah.
Beautiful. That's really beautiful. But then maybe how were they editing using this analog? Just give them. How are you doing it? Because I'm also stuck up here with this Makabanji. Were they cutting pictures? What were they doing?
No, actually, analog. You make a mistake, you go back. Analog,
that's how bad was
it? It was really a huge desk with so many things. That's the one we had. It was good, but so when you're doing all those effects, slow motions, there were buttons that you had to do, and we're counting frames a lot. Nowadays it's so easy. You just say you frame and then you go this way. But back then, back in the days, you can imagine you edit a program and you realize there's a problem. You know what that meant?
Going back.
You have to go back.
Oh wow!
And just to make sure that there's no jump cut. And jump cuts were serious issues, and then they tell you there's a jump cut. You go crazy because you're thinking, okay, fine, this jump cut is at 5 minutes. This program is 30 minutes. You're already at 20 or 15 minutes ahead. So I think this analog sounds, it sounds like it's Zashikale, but it was very interesting because it taught you a lot. It taught you to use your ears, your eyes, and your brain when you're editing. Making sure you're focused because you don't want to go back and start cutting again. And nobody wants, you always want quality. And then we had to make sure that we do that. I remember working with people like Maneno Mtawali as a producer that will make some I can't last name but Maneno Mtawali. These were producers that would really make you sweat, because they want their work perfect. So we had to, when you're editing, all your mind, everything is focused. Yeah. And it was very frustrating. So we had to be, quality check was very important. So as we're going along, kumapanga edit, so it was quite interesting. I was okay, God. Editing, jump cut, it was really a big problem.
Yeah, I can imagine it was very stressing.
It was very stressing. It was very stressing.
Okay. Is there a particular moment or a production that has actually stayed in your mind till date? Say, our production,
I think several, as I said, because we're pioneers and new programs were starting.
Yeah.
One of the programs I really took pride in was the Tikati Music Splash.
Oh wow.
With Dora Manglama. Then she was the first presenter, and Sam as a producer. I remember the first day we had that program airing on air, when we edited the program and we clapped hands in the studio. We were just so excited. And that day, it's my Peter who, I think the first program, it was broadcast on the day. Anyway, let me not talk about that, but it was just exciting moment for Jakuti. It was a musical program. That it was the first time that we were airing the program, and we had put in so much, and we were really excited at the end of it. The product was exciting, Disanami, because we brought entertainment now, Music Splash. And it's more like I don't think people do that. But that is one of the productions I really enjoyed, because we sat down as a team and discussed it.
My name is Clara Mofirangwira. I'm one of the pioneers of TVM. I am now working with the Malawi Communications Regulatory Authority as communications manager. I was the first camera woman. I have very fond memories of this place because of my contribution to this place. Initially, there was a team that went to Namibia to train in television, but I came with a background of video production because before coming to TVM, I was working for the Ministry of Information, and I was attached to the Malawi Film Unit. At the Malawi Film Unit, my role was to produce videos, to take videos, to control sound and everything. Editing as well, I also did editing. So that was my training ground. So the Ministry of Information, I'm highly indebted to them for training me, and they did not only train me on the job, they also sent me elsewhere for training. For example, I had my training in Moscow, Russia, and then I also had a training in Hungary, Budapest. Then I also went to Japan for some time to train in video production. So when I came to TVM, I was well equipped, just that I didn't have enough knowledge about TV programming. So when I joined TVM, I met this young group of individuals that were trained in Namibia, very jovial young people. And because they went to Namibia for TV training, my joining them was another training for me, because we shared knowledge. I shared my knowledge, they also shared their knowledge in as far as TV production was concerned. So when I came here, I was an all-rounder. I was a math skiller, so I would work as a reporter, I would work as a video editor, I would work as a camera person. So I chose to be a camera person because that's where I felt so comfortable and it was so fulfilling. My defining moments at TVM are many, but I will just mention a few. I would get job satisfaction when a reporter comes to me to say, Clara, patting me on the back, to say, Clara, you brought beautiful pictures for me. I'm happy with what you've captured. I remember I went to SADC. I've covered SADC meetings. I've covered so many presidents in the SADC meetings, and I've also covered so many presidents in my life, starting with Dr. Banda. So this other time, we covered SADC in Zambia, and my report at that time was Kusali Kubalo. It was a great relief and so fulfilling when Kusali said, Clara, you gave me beautiful pictures. I said, thank you. And the next moment, it was from, a compliment was from late Martha Chikune. She also complimented the same. So my life as a camera woman was so fulfilling because I had a great team that would compliment, that would appreciate your work. And it was not easy working with heavy cameras at that time. The electronic news gathering cameras at that time were kind of heavy, and especially in the ones that I got trained on, we had to carry a heavy camera on the right shoulder and a heavy recorder on the left shoulder, and we had to run around with that kind of equipment while chasing your subject. But because I had that passion, that counted less. All I wanted was to get a wonderful picture for my TV station, because I knew that whatever I was doing was going to be beamed to the whole country, and that Malawians were expecting good pictures from me. And I loved the fact that the station had confidence in me to send me to a high-profile assignment. It was an assurance that I would deliver on the assignment. So I really had to run my best. I had to keep fit to ensure that I am able to handle the the heavy equipment and cover the high profile assignment and bring back home what the station needed. And on that, I should say thank you, Dr. Tembo, for trusting me. And my other defining moment is when I was assigned to record. You remember, I would record pictures, I would edit, I would produce, I'd write scripts. So Dr. Tembo sent me to a certain assignment where a certain girl had won a competition and was due to travel to Hawaii. So I came up with a very short documentary on her. And Dr. Tembo was a good person because he would bring out the beast out of you. So he wrote me a memo to say, Clara, keep up with what you're doing because what you have brought is brilliant work. So that spirit is what we all need at work. So if I count my blessings at TVM, it's because of the people that surrounded me as a woman, camera person, and the encouragement that I got from management, especially Dr. Tembo. And because I had that background from the Malawi Film Unit, we usually used to record weddings during our free times. So I had my own personal cameras and I would run around during weekends recording Zinkoswe, recording bridal showers, recording weddings. So people knew me as that camera girl. So there was a time, because I was doing everything on my own, I was an all-rounder, that was an added advantage to me personally. I remember there was a time when the Minister of Agriculture was supposed to receive fertilizer from Mozambique, but they said they only wanted one person who could do everything. Usually 2 people were supposed to be sent to an assignment. I don't know if that is still happening with the coming in of digital technology. So one would be the camera person, the other person would be the reporter. So at that time, because I would report, I would produce, I'd write scripts, I would handle the camera, and I had my own camera, management just picked me to say, okay, if the minister wants one person, so Clara has everything, let her go. I went outside the country and had the event captured on my camera and brought back home everything. In fact, I even had to send a report through the embassy while still there at the Bela, at the airport. I had to send a report back home informing Malawians that we had received fertilizer from Libya. So that's what I can talk about my time here. But I also miss the laughter. These young children that were trained in Namibia, they taught me something. They loved each other. They laughed a lot. They hugged a lot. And the new employees that joined us later, the younger ones, because we were the older ones. So the younger ones kept on joining us. So it's like we had cultivated a culture of love among ourselves. And I know that this culture started with management. And I was happy to work for TVM, honestly. I remember we had late Geoffrey Kapusa, we had Wellington Kuntaja, the Manenos of this world, Angel Chima, Zilani, all those people that you saw coming up with TV productions, coming up with programs that you watched at that time. These people made this place worth being at. And at that time the staff was limited, and because of that, so many people had to do production as well as reporting. And you could see the dedication of these young people. They could really work hard to ensure that they feed the station with the needed content. At that time we would broadcast from 6 p.m. to 8, but in terms of television, that is a long time. It's a lot of time for one to feed it with content. But these people ran up and down, they worked so hard to ensure that that was fulfilled. Yes, I worked here from 1999 and moved on to to Makra in 2004, that I have fond memories. And when I meet my friends here, I feel at home.
Hello, I am Maiso Tulambo, one of the pioneers of Television Malawi. Back in the day, I used to be a news anchor and at times a continuity presenter. It was really exciting because it was the only television station at that time, and everybody would aspire to work for Television Malawi. I remember I had come for auditions, and when I was called into the office of the Director General then, Dr. Benson Tembo, and he told me that he had watched my clip and he was impressed with how I performed, and I was offered the job. I was really excited just to imagine being on air, you know, to the outer world there. It was also exciting to be in a studio where it's all cool, you have to get used, you know, to that environment, and then also the exposure that it gives you to the outer world. I remember if I'm in town, people would say, oh, you're my Sotulambo, you work for TVM, you know, and that gave you some sense of comfort, you know, that you're being recognized out there, but also it had to put you on the edge because it means people are watching you, and so how you carry yourself mattered at that time. I also remember because at that time there wasn't much exposure to the outer world at large. One had to depend on teamwork at times if you have to come up with content, and you had to use a lot of imagination. Unlike these days, we have Google, we have AI, and so it is easy for you to come up with content. I would also say that being on television, it gives you an upper edge because of the exposure that it gives you. And if you're smart enough, you can even go higher to greater heights, even in high positions in society. We've got examples of people that have attained higher positions in society just because they were exposed through television. I would say maybe a tip to the upcoming TV personalities. It's important that you expose yourself to the world. Nowadays, you're not only confined to the local audience. You know, the world is growing, and so content is being streamed online. It means the rest of the world is watching you. So you have to up your game because you can achieve what you want if you really believe you can. But also being on television, just a tip, it's important to dress smart, be well groomed. Research has shown that people will judge you by the way you present yourself, by the way you look. And so being presentable is a must. One of my fond memories is kind of funny. So one of these days I was a continuity presenter, and then it was time for news at 8 o'clock. And so what you have to understand is when you're in the studio, you forget that people are watching you live. So when I had done with my continuity presentation, I said, oh, why can't I just come out and go do my own things? And then I'm forgetting the news anchor is right live on camera. So I decided to tiptoe behind his back. At the time I was realizing, I was live on air. It was already too late. And people still make fun of that when we meet once in a while. But yeah, these are the things, you get to learn when you're on television. But there have been exciting moments, making new friends. I remember at that time we had Rihanna Suti, may her soul rest in peace, Jeff Kapusa, my brother, may his soul rest in peace. We had Lekeni Takomana, we had Zilani Konje, Dora Mangulama, Kosari Kubaru, a whole lot of us, and we really bonded so well. And just one of those, highlights that I would remember being on television. But also at that time, there weren't a lot of checks and balances, I'd say. Television being the only television in the country, unlike these days we've got so many TV stations. Back in the day, because Television Malawi was the only television station at that time, you'd get away with some things because there was no comparative. Unlike these days, there's so many television stations and there are lots of checks and balances, so you always have to dot the I's and cross the T's. Yeah.
Moto wayaga, moto wayaga, kudambu wayaga, kudambu wayaga, moto wayaga, kumabiri wayaga, kumabiri wayaga, lawi wayaga, moto wayaga, Banyanja wayaga, Malawi wayaga, moto wayaga, kuyempisuko wayaga.
This is nice. Muntu wangu GVM pa 1st April 1999 kuyamba kuulutsa ma program koma mutina mbabe mbuyomu ife nali anthu amene anali oyambidwa kulembedwa ntchito mukumbukira panali anthu 13 oyambirira kenako 17 ife ndiye tinali ngati 3 kenako 4 phatikiza kuonjezerapo ndi first group imeneyo ndi ena anapita ku Namibia Broadcasting Corporation training de ife tinapezeka kuti tili kunoko kaya naona kuti awa ndi ethnomusicologist kale a bush musician hapo training yawo yambire konkono mwina mwake komano ndio ife tinayambira kunoko ku Domasi ku Malawi Institute of Education imene kuja anatibweresera akadaulo za communication kutanthauza kunena kuti za broadcasting amene wandoti anamandwa enieni amene anachokera ku BBC ku Ian Thompson Ian Masters at Thompson Foundation, kunabwera Dan Schmidt aku Deutsche Welle kuzatiphunzitsa, kunabwera namandwa ena anachoka ku UNESCO mothandizidwa ndi Zimbabwe ku Harare anabwera so magaya amene aja kuzatiphunzitsa. Ndi kunali anthu likukumwera madolo oziwa television ndi timachidwa television journalism production amaphatikiza ti television journalism production ndi tinali ngati tasolidwa ndi tinaza kuphatikizana sopano ndi anzathu anachoka ku Namibia ndikupangira solimozi soma training ambiri amatisula ubongo ndi mapangira ku Domasi pa ujini pa training center yapa MPTC pompa pa chichilipa koma tinasundika lumka kang'ono kwambiri ku Unit House kanali office inoti madzaza na mine momo tonse komano inali nthawi ina yake yapa deradera kamba kakuti tinasulidwa tinali ndi maziko enieni ineyo atandisula anyamata amenewa anamandwa amenewa anamatetule
ananena kuti uyu inde amaimba magitala akewa koma akhale mu newsroom, iye ndi akhale producer wa news. Ndiye naswa kuti uyu akhale wa ma programs. Mabona pepo ndi ambiri basi mangoti kanganira ndi nayamba mu newsroom ngati producer wa news, ndi mapanga news, international news, ndikupanga so introduce nkhani zija namba ngati nkhani mwachidule imangotuka 5 minutes poyambisa ndi week in review, ndi news jaso pana mapangaso international news mapatikisa, ndiye panya mapangaso week in review, ndi mapanga bizanga izizi zachikhalidwe za kwathu. Ndeza kwathu yo makanga ndopanga ndeka produce presentation ndeka penaso kamera chifukwa ndi makamera manochepa, makamera 4 ndi mafunika kuti munthu uphatikize izi ndize multi skilling. Ndi multi skilling momuja ndi mmene timatani timapezeka kuti ine nali ma program unokwana ma program 7 kuphatikiza news itu. Ndi kuti mukona on the scene zakwathu, Juma Nthaka, week in review, nkhani mwachidule, pene pacha ma program mbwerekete kumapa koma ndimakwanisa chifukwa nali ndi schedule yanga imene ndimapanga yoti ndimadziwa kuti apapa ndipuma apapa ndikupanga ma program ena ndimapangirato stockpiling imene ndimaona ngati masiku ano ndimakanika anyamata kupanga, ine ndimapangirato ma program aja kupangirato, ndi ndimadziwa kuti mawiki awawa program yako ndapangirato yako ndingopanga news zanga fa news zanga zimakhala za fresh zoti za new one basi upange be news komano ma program ena ndimangopangirato ndikatero basi ndakhala mu office. Choyambirira kwa ine ndimaona kuti ulendo wa television Malawi TVM kuyambira filmana tilemba ntchito 1997 kumafika kuti ulusa pa 1st April 1999 anthu amangona ngati akunama 1st April Fool's Day kungambike TV koma iya inayambika, ndipo siku limene lolo anabwera ndi Arab Moi kutoka ku Kenya president ndali guest of honor nachitira pompa pakwa chapa, ndiye nafe tinalira ndi tumisozi ya chisangalalo kuti 3 years oseja timadikira ija apapa yathekadi chi TV because anthu ankati nena tinkanyozedwa ntawuni mutimati tikamaenda ntawuni akamati TVM nani starter mpaka nyimbo zinapekedwa atu ndai mene zinapekedwa nyimbo when I sit on my TV it just goes TVM nani starter komano inachitika kuti TVM yakhazikisidwa. Ndi ulendo onsewu ifeyo ku TVM panali umodzi, inali ngati banja limodzi, timayang'anirana limodzi, timakondana, aliyense amataka mabwera ku ntchito amaona kuti ndikupita ndi family, ndiye imapanga no translate kuti imene ndi nation, it was patriotism, national calling. Moti tinali ndi Malemu Swine Chinkango amagona amene anayamba kupanga ma videos achina matafale watsetsereka ose achina Lucius Banda ma video ayambirirachi anyamata amene anapanga ma video amene ajawo amagona mu studio. Patriotism muziwa kuti tinayamba kulusa 2 hours 2 hours 6 to 8 tatseka kena kumaonjezera nthawi inayo timatenga ma feed satellite feed tinali ndi Channel Africa, tinali ndi Channel O anachosizando imene 8 vocha nyimbo zinali ngati zolawula, komanso tinali ndi ma channel ambiri toshivera ija timakhala ndi ma feed a VOA, BBC amene timaonesa koma programming yathu inali 2 hours. Ndio kuti nthawi ina yonse anthu tikonzekera ma program kenako tinambo kuonjezera nthawi nkumafika pa 24 hours news nkumapangaso live. Komano chachikulu chinali kuti umodzi, kumvesetsana, anthu kutumikira dziko. Anthu amene anayamba TV anayika dziko lawo patsogolo. Ndikunena ichi chifukwa choti panali mavuto ambiri koma anthu amachilimika pa ntchito yawo poyadzamira kuti ifeyo ndife Amalawi ichi chitachiyamba chinthuchi chikhale cha quality. Chifukwa chake anthu amati ukayika program weka inengeka za kwathu ndikuti kuntaja waika face to face. Malemu Geoffrey Kaposa aika music splash mwapano wewe achina tu ndio utaika jani sports ndipo hivyo umalopita town kupita town Victoria Avenue kukangoenda mimi muchi ati mwere it was an exciting moment that defined the destiny of broadcasting television in Malawi and ankula kuchizongoto ndiye ndagwiraso ma department otse pano panga retire ndagwirako ngati producer wa news, producer wa program, manager, regional manager oyang'anira center and north, ndagwiraso ngati administration manager, ndagwiraso ngati chief research officer. Anthu ambiri amene kuti za research chani documentation za chani komano ife pa ntchito yathu ndi ukadaulo wathu ngati public broadcaster tinayenera kukhala ndi maziko enieni osunga mbiri ya dziko kupyolera ma program athu because zimene timapanga kuti anthu akhale ndi masomphenya kutsogolo akamaziwa kumene akuchokera ndi MPC ndi imene ili ngati custodian wa heritage ya Malawi chifukwa MPC TV yemwe kai kujambula mbiri ya Malawi zonse za democracy tikunena panonse ma problems aka accountability corruption chilichonse chimakhala kuti documented ndiye zimene zozo ndi maphunziro akulu komanso ndiye chuma chimene makolo athu akutisiyira pa MPC pano chimene chinayenera kutani kusamalidwa ndiye department imene ya research documentation ndiyofunika because ikusunga mbiri komanso ana athu akubwera kutsogoloko azizaziwa kuti kunali TVM imapanga chani imatumikira bwanji anthu kodi amalakwisa chani MPC imatumikira bwanji anthu so zimene zonse zimafunika kuzitani kuzisunga kuzipanga document masiku ano digitalization njira imodzi yosungira zinthu ma documents ma program mbamba ndimuona kuti panopa MPC ya Roma archive ikutenga ma program ife akale kuti akhalano zaka 27 apa nga digitalize anthu akhoza kumaonera ma program amene ndazisiyanisa kuti kodi ma program amene acha taonani ndi apano akusiyana bwanji quality ili bwanji kodi awawa amathayani zimene amalondola ndi chani zimene zikulakwika pano ndi chani kodi angaphunzire bwanji anyamata amene akupanga utolankhani masiku ano ndi utolankhani wakale chifukwa life kapena tinetu kacha ma systems akacha amasintha komanso amaenda ndi nyengo koma kusintha kwawo samafunika kuti asinthe mokomera imene timati globalization kuiwala identity ya anthu ndi ineyo chikhalidwe cha anthu ndizi chozama kwambiri chifukwa mukayazamira pa chikhalidwe chanu ngati Amalawi ngati fuko limodzi mmaendaso limodzi ndikuti chitukuko chikuyenda patsogolo chikhalidwe chija ndiye chitukukocho ndiye anthu amasiyanisa kuti achikhalidwe chacha iyayi nkona program ngati azakwathu inamba 1999 zakwathu ilipobe mpaka nalero chifukwa chani ma program ena ataita koma zakwathu ja ilipobe chifukwa ndi chikhalidwe cha anthu ndi chimenda ndi chitukuko ndi zimene zizazoti zimasulire kuti kodi umunthu wathu ndi chani ndiye ma department onse ndagwira ine ntchito takhala ndikupezapo my experience komanso zovutaso zambiri komanso zokomanso for amati pali uchi pali njuchi ngati MPC yetso pano chifukwa tapanga budget ndikuti TVM ija yasuntha sopano malingana ndi malamulo mene akuyendera Communications Act amended ija ndi TVM ija ndakhangati atani ya bwirirano kujani koma anthu eti mwini wake wa Communications Public Broadcaster MPC ndi chimene ndikuona ine panopa ni chakuti ukadaulo wa kukonza ma program ukadaulo otumikira Malawi kumbali ya news nkhani kukhala professional zimene zozo zimene ndikuona kuti zikumaperewera pakufunika kuti pakhale professionalism ethics chifukwa profession iliyonse imakhani malamulo wake komanso ngati mukutumikira Amalawi ndikuti inuyo munayenera kukhala okhazikika pa ngodya za ntchito yanu kodi ngodya zake ndi chani discipline zikhalapo ethics zikhalapo palipo ja professionalism zikhalapo mukatero integrity ndi kuti mukutumikira Amalawi muyenerera ma programu apa MPC sima programu aine ngati waliko ayi sia programu ngati aino ndi ma programu anthu akutumikira anthu ali ngati zenera kalilole anthu akumaona kalilole zenera kuti ndife ndi zimene zijazo zinena zitani zizikonzedwa mwa dongosolo ndi chimene ndikuona kuti chinaenda chilimike kwambiri komanso umodzi pa MPC anthu azigwira ngati abanja limodzi ngati mete makwirira ife ku TVM MPC isamakhale kuti anthu akugwira ntchito aliyense akuyendera yake kuti modernization globalization acculturation chani iyayi koma kugwira ngati banja limodzi mukagwira na dzanja umodzi muli mphamvu muona kuti maprogramu anu azipita chitsogolo palibe amene anganene kuti MPC so ndiyobwerera mbuyo ikupita chitsogolo maso anu azikhala patsogolo mbuzi timatsekera mkhola ndiye timayenera kuti ifeyo pepani ndalowaso program yanga ngati ya mizu imene ndaisiyaso program pa radio kuti azipanga azefenia komano nkhani yayikulu ndiyakuti maso athu ameneya kukhala patsogolo komano poyazamira professionalism tikatero MPC palibe muzaona ma station onse akubwerawa ma program onse amangomatula MPC aya matula TVM ineyo program yanga yaza kwathu yomwe muimba ma station ambira kupanga ma private ma community akupanga soza kwathu pano kupanga mizu usasinda zina lomwero exclusive interview ma program oti timapanga pano pa MPC ndiye kuti MPC ndi manthu blueprint chisogolo chake nchakuti anyamata akubwera lero ndamene atabwere kutsogoloko anayenera atsate mapaza ife amene timayazamira pa professionalism kuti paukadaulo wonse ndi discipline kuzisunga kuzisamalira kumaona kuti you are responsible citizen patriot a journalist a true journalist chifukwa akusowa masiku ano ni ma true journalist ma true producers amakhala na ma checkbook journalist ungofuna chiponda nthengo MPC matumikira anthu maomaliza amavuta nthawi zambiri masiku ngati amene kuti mukusangalala komanso mukuonanso kumbuyo chifukwa pali anthu ambiri amene tinali nawo pa TVM anatisiya awawa anali tingati ndana matiri chifukwa anapereka moyo wawo wonse life yawo yonse kuti TVM ikhale mene inafikira muja ndipo so aliponso ena kuti tanwa MPC amene anayika mtima wawo wonse amene wawa ineyo ndamene ndikuwapereka sawa chalero lino pa first April pamene tikukumbukira kuti takhala zaka 27 amene wa anatisiya abale athu koma anachilimika kwambiri anayika moyo wawo wonse pa ntchito imeneyi ndiponso ena amakumana ndi zopinga zopsa kwambiri zoti kuti tinene pano tikhangati tatani talowa kudambwi taulula za kumadzi iyayi komano pali zambiri zimene zimachitika pamudzi pano koma anatani anachilimika ndipo amene akubwera pano pa masiku anowa tiyalimbikitsenso kuti iyi ndi ntchito ya imene timati noble vocation a calling maitanidwe usati kubwera kuno kuti ya ndikakhala millionaire ngati Bill Gates iyayi koma kubwera kuzatumikira anthu ndiye uchikonde chimenechi ukhale ndi mtima oti kutumikira anthu a dziko lako ndiye mukatero muzaona kuti ife ngati Malawi umodzi wathu udzapita patsogolo komanso tizakhala afuko limodzi chiyanjano cha ife ngati Malawi kupyolera ma program athu amene timapanga panowa ndiye pali zambiri tanena kali za chikhalidwe miyambo yambiri ya chikhalidwe imene imaluzanitsa Amalawi ngati fuko limodzi ndiye tikalimbikira chimene chichi khulupira kuti anyamata amene atati azibwera kutsogoloku kumazagwira ntchito amene atenga mipando ya ife pano akhala ochilimika komanso amalingaliro ozama otero achiyanjano.
Malawi wayaga wayaga Malawi wayaga wayaga Lawi lawi wayaga wayaga Aguyaga wayaga ai wayaga Malawi wayaga wayaga Aguyaga wayaga wayaga Lawi lawi wayaga wayaga Aguyaga wayaga Emoto wayaga, emoto wayaga, 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 lawi, lawi, wayaga, wayaga, lawi, lawi, wayaga, wayaga, lawi, lawi, wayaga, wayaga, lawi, lawi, wayaga, agumabili, egunyanja, wayaga, Malawi, wayaga, wayaga, aguyaka, wayaga, MBC, yayaga, yayaga.
I love these things.
From humble beginnings, NBC TV has grown into a national institution. For 27 years, it has informed the public, educated communities, and entertained generations. Through news, culture, agriculture, education, and entertainment, television became more than a